mistakes. And while there's 3 volcanoes going on right now, and I think there's a 4th, it's kind of spooling up some stuff there in Alaska. And I think they're worried about one near you somewhere in Washington a little bit, some rumblings.
No, I haven't heard anything in Washington, but I haven't checked. But, I mean, the biggest one that I know is concerned is Mount Rainier, which is still an active, dormanted volcano. But ever so often it will dump out a little bit of, smoke, and then it simmers down. But we do get slight earthquakes around there occasionally. If that one ever went, that is going to take out a lot of the population.
Yeah, and you have, well, my goodness, you got Mount Adams, Mount Hope, Mount Rainier.
I don't know about Mount Hope. I don't know where that's at.
And Mount St. Helens, those are all volcanic. I don't know if they're active, but I mean, listen, who knows? One day they could just go or start spewing, and it's all bad when that starts.
Yeah, they're like a giant pimple on the earth. You never know when they're going to erupt.
I was just thinking that. I swear you're psychic, Gary.
I am. I just told you I wasn't. But, it gets me. I do agree with a lot of things that Brenda, our guest, said tonight, and I can, I compliment her for, sticking up with her views and stuff like that. I just think, too, also that when a person passes on, your brain doesn't die instantly. It doesn't shut off. It's still functioning. Now, I don't know, even your brainstem, that they think, your brainstem only controls your motor functions. Well, that's not true, because there was a guy born without a brain. Now you're saying, that's impossible. No, the fact was the guy ended up being a CPA. He went to college and done everything. And then something happened in his life. He's in the hospital. They're doing the MIR. This is back a few years ago. And found out he didn't have much of a brain. He was functioning and went to college. And he was a CPA all off of his brain stem.
Yeah, that's amazing. Another story similar to that was back in the 1880s. And this one was in Ripley's, believe it or not. You can look it up. But one of the workers for the railroad, they were setting off, explosions, and it flung in the air one of them metal bars that, you break rocks off and stuff. And it hit him in the head and took out half his brain. And he didn't die. Matter of fact, they took him to the hospital, and that's the real odds of that, because back in the 1880s, how good was the doctors and surgeons then, especially in the middle of nowhere. And he lived and had a full life after that. I think he might have did some of the circuses stuff after that, but he lived a full life, nothing wrong, but he was missing half a brain.
Yeah, and you figured they didn't have anything really for antibiotics. They didn't have, the knowledge of the brain, let alone going through medical school back in the 1800s was not much of anything. You could become a doctor really easy, or a dentist, and you didn't even know anything. That's the scary part. But, again, too, just the thoughts of when you do pass on. How do you know when you have this visitation that you're actually going through a tunnel and you're actually seeing all your loved ones, or all this, or you're dreaming? Because you know what are we, from little kids, right? We're brainwashed that there is a God, there's Jesus, there's angels, and all this stuff. And what are we been told? When you die, if you've been good, you go to heaven. If you've been bad, you go down where Adolf Hitler is with the pineapple. That from that TV show. Yeah. Okay, that movie. Anyway. So people from little Nicky. But they are brainwashed from little kids all the way up to adulthood that there's heaven and there's hell. And then when you die, you get to see all your loved ones, and you get to see your life before you, how you treated people, good or bad or both. How do we know this is not something when you pass on that is nothing more than a dream?
These are all good questions. I do know that in my world anyway, when people pass on, you still have free will, because some people, whatever the reason is, they don't cross over to hell or heaven or wherever, and they become earthbound spirits. And I'm not the only one. I, along with a few other people, have seen these spirits at the same time, unless we were mass hallucinating throughout the years with different people in different locations, which I don't think is possible. But I do know, real evil stuff that's maybe never been human. And when I get around that stuff, I get sicker and sicker. The more evil it is, the closer I get to it. There's no gray area there at all. And I've seen that stuff, and that's stuff you can't unsee. I wouldn't wish that on anybody ever.
Okay, now I'm going to throw one at you. Pretend we're not friends anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that we're just now talking. Why do scientists say that there is no afterlife? There is no ghost. There's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as spirits. When you're dead, you're dead, and that's the end of it. That's like the hard drive in your computer. When it fails, you take it out and you throw it away. It's over with.
Well, on that same token, there's another, just as many scientists say there is, because we are energy. Energy does not disappear. It does not dissipate. It just turns to another form. Just like you could take a gas and freeze it. You could take it and thaw it, and it's a gas. It changes form, but it never disappears. We're energy. So when we die, our energy force, soul, life force, whatever you want to call it, it goes somewhere. And also, along with scientific terms, it's somewhere around the turn of the century, they did experiments. They really had people on their deathbeds. They were on these weighted tables. And when they died, it came up to like 2.1 grams or something would leave the body.
Yeah, but how accurate was their equipment back at the turn of the century to measure? We're talking grams.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. I can't debate that at all. But I do know, as far if you want to talk science, we're energy. We just don't.
Okay, our brain produces electricity.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I do.
But
but
electricity dissipates and it's nothing. It doesn't continue after it's used up.
Well, you could be right. I just know that.
We don't know each other. I'm just asking you these questions.
Yeah, I can only answer from what I know, and in my world, I don't have facts I can prove it. I mean, I can show you some pictures of some spirits and demons, but I mean, you can say they were just doctored or pareidolia or something anyway. But until you can experience it, I guess you don't know. But I have seen stuff that is attached to things. I've seen these spirits. So sometimes they don't cross over, because along what you're saying, when we were younger, we get beaten our head. There's heaven and hell. There's a God. And you're going to go to hell if you do this. And I think some spirits, that's in their brain, and they don't cross over because maybe they were a bad person in life or whatever the reason is. But
here's the thing, though. I'm going to take this a step farther, okay?
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I really feel strongly this planet has been rebooted several times, okay? I know we didn't have the technology to build the Sphinx, the pyramids. I don't think we had the technology to even establish ourselves as a civilization without help. Now, if you look at this, man has always, and I've said this repeatedly on the show, had to believe in something to go on. If you took the fire god away from you at that right time and moment of history, and you took the fire god or the god of Olympus, or you took any of that stuff away from you, you would have nothing to live for at that time, because that was your belief. Am I right?
Right.
Now, if the planet was brought into religion, or what so-called religion, because let's say we got aliens, for example, it came down and they were taking our minerals, our resources from our planet, like gold, silver, and whatever, platinum, or whatever they needed, okay, for what they needed for their civilization. So they brought in humanoids to work the mines, to work our planet. They would sit there and look at these people that were in charge as gods. Look at the pyramids. Do you think we have the technology to build the pyramids? I don't think so. No one's ever proved to me that we had the technology, because everybody who's come up with it, you can always debunk their theory behind how the pyramids were done. Why would the Incas and the Mayas and all these other civilizations, why would they have to, why did they collect gold and silver? They had, I mean, why? Why not some other type of metal? They thought gold was precious. Something instilled into their brains that gold is something very cherished. You want it. It's worth something. Well, I think that was created by whatever came down and extorted our planet for its minerals. Now, the humanoids at that point then switched away from believing in gods of the mountain, gods of the sea, fire gods, to a god that maybe came down here to extort our planet. And he became the god because he controlled our planet. He made the decisions. You live, die, or whatever. And they maybe also mentored us right and wrong of things in life. I don't know. See, we can take this so many different ways, James. If you go that way, then the idea of poltergeists, demons, and all that stuff couldn't have existed, and could not exist today.
Well, here's another thing. I mean, who's to say that these spirits aren't, when we pass over, we're not on another plane in a different parallel universe that's coinciding with us, and we're coming through the veil once in a while. There's all kind of theories out there. And as far as building the pyramids, out in the middle of the jungles in South America thousands of years ago, these tribes are still running around loincloths and flint arrows, and they didn't have no wheel, and they're going to build these pyramids that are so precise and mathematically put together with up to 20-ton stones that are moved sometimes 100 miles away with no wheel on top of a mountain that's 10, 15,000 feet high. No, I don't believe there's no way they built them. We couldn't build that stuff today, I don't think.
Or carve in homes inside of a mountain with what? With what type of tools did they have? Their tools they had would have been soft metal. They would have been forged. How would they sit there and chiseled out these homes? There's all more to this, and that's the whole thing. I'm not trying to say I don't believe in God, because I'm like everybody else. I believe there's a God. I believe there's a hereafter. But, when I die, I'll find out. Either it'll be something or it won't be. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's you're very true. And, there's 11 churches or 12, 13 churches, and I don't know if it's India or Pakistan somewhere, but they're all built out of solid rock down in the ground. And the massive amount of the rock that is removed is nowhere to be found, and where did it go? And everything is so detailed and precision, these giant 11, 12, 13 different churches. It's like you couldn't build that stuff today, much less 1,000 years ago with copper tools.
Now, how about the ones that are built up in different parts of the world on little mountains that stick up 1,000 feet, 500 feet off the floor, and they had to climb it with ropes to get to the top? How could they have built their churches or whatever on top of these things? How did they get their tools up there? How did they get the big stones up there? How did they do it? They had to have something else. That's all I can say.
Oh, definitely. And I think these beings that came here, and they did have this mine for gold or whatever, and because that's a good fact. All over the world, why would gold be precious? I think after they left, the tribes and the people, or the different across the world, they would keep on continuing to use gold as jewelry or whatever, to maybe as a homage to the beings that were here, in hopes that they would come back, because obviously they would look at them as gods or whatever and be very enlightened with all the technology and the magic that they could do. Because here's the thing, if you went back just 150 years with a cigarette lighter or a cell phone and it worked, they would think you was some kind of magician, and it's just technology that we don't know.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. There was technology. It's lost. I mean, even the Romans, for example, right, made cement that is so much, put it this way, our cement, what we make now, okay, it cures. it gets hard, and then it gets harder, and then it gets hard, and then it's